All righty. Thank you, everyone, for being here today, joining our Bienvenidos Todos webinar. And we want to begin our webinar by thanking the Virginia Board for People with Disabilities. This program would not be possible without their support, and the different organizations like the ARC of Northern Virginia that's joining us again, and being extremely supportive in all the critical information for our families and our organizations that are serving Latinos and everyone else that needs the education regarding disability resources. I am extremely happy that we have our ARC of Northern Virginia joining us once again. I'm going to just put the disclaimer on the screen, and then I am going to go ahead and introduce her, but this is our disclaimer for our project. And I will begin by introducing our guest speaker today. We have Majo Flores, Frank Trippett Advocacy and Outreach Fellow. Just a little bit about the Frank Trippett Advocacy and Outreach Fellowship Program by the ARC, which is a program of the ARC of Northern Virginia, was established in 2021 by the family and friends of the late Frank Trippett. It was created as a tribute to his long years of advocacy on behalf of people with intellectual disabilities and developmental disabilities. Under the supervision of the Director of Advocacy and the cooperation with their staff members, Trippett Fellow assists with outreach and education to families with a loved one with a developmental disability. Working to engage families is in understanding resources and feeling empowered to get what they need for their loved ones. The fellows share information in English and Spanish, which Majo, who is presenting today in person, handles all of the Spanish context in workshops and at events and in person. The fellows create durable materials and resources for families who may need the critical information regarding their loved ones. We want to thank you, Majo Flores, for being here today. Again, she's the Frank Trippett Advocacy and Outreach Fellow.
Thank you so much, Lorena. Hi, everyone. My name is Majo, and I'm with the ARC, and I'm very glad to be here today to talk about legal authority options for individuals with disabilities as they transition into adulthood. I think it's a very important topic, and I'm very excited to share helpful information and answer your questions along the way. So here we go. Okay, here's the overview of the topics that I'll be discussing today. Why look at legal authority, different options that we have, basics of supported decision-making, all the what-ifs that could be crossing our minds when it comes to this topic, and just like an idea of steps that we can take on making that decision when we are trying to find the right person or the right someone, that can help us help ourselves and help our loved ones to make important decisions. And a lot of resources that we have here with the ARC, you will also be able to see that. Okay, so why legal authority? As most of us know, we become legal adults at the age of 18. Many people are not ready sometimes to make all decisions at the age of 18. I have nephews, I have siblings that are graduating from high school or doing making all these decisions at that age, and that's really, really hard. And for someone who has different abilities, this might be something very hard or even harder to do, to make the decisions about money, about education, about what am I going to do after I graduate and all of that. So we need to surround ourselves with people, with organizations that can help us make this transition a little bit easier, and that can, or someone that we can trust and will give us the right advice that we need to make this transition easier. So legal authority basically means giving power to help the person with a disability understand and make choices, or to make choices for them. It depends on the case. Some people might have abilities to make, simple decisions, and some others we know that they might not be able to do that just yet. So supported decision making, it's an option. This is not something that we have to do, but again, as I've mentioned before, all these little steps, all these little decisions that we make for our loved ones are acts of love, because that protects them along the way, that protects them while they are transitioning from one stage of life to the next one. So at its most basic, supported decision making is having people, again, that we trust to help us, to help them make the right decision. This is, as we know, part of our culture for everyone. I have two little ones. They are under the age of 6 years old. And just like all this, sometimes decisions that I have to make as a mom, like what school do they need to go? IEP, who do I need to contact? I surround myself with people who have been through my path or something similar, or I ask the people who are specialists on the right fields. And that's something that we as humans do all the time when we're trying to make a decision. This can be something formal, this can be something informal, and that system also will change depending on someone's capacity. Someone might not be able to make a decision right now, but in 6 months, they might be able to make the decision by themselves. So all these changes, and we have to just adapt to the changes that we see in our loved ones throughout the way. Okay, and then this is what I was mentioning before. What if something happens? As humans, we have all these questions in our heads saying, what if I am not around, in a few years? And what's going to happen with my kid? What's going to happen if the siblings are not around? Or who is going to help them make the decisions? All these what ifs that we can have in our, that can be keeping us up at night. This is the part that we're trying to cover here, like to make ourselves feel more confident and empowered, that we know that our loved ones who might need more help will have the right person to help them along the way. There's no something very specific that we have to do to protect someone, because at the end, we're all humans, we make mistakes, and everyone makes the decision whether we agree or not. But we do know that people are safer when they have people around them who love them, who support them, who teach them, and who are with them to empower them. So this is what it is. We're just trying to give the tools so everyone can build their own team who can help them, and we don't have to feel alone in this journey. This is an idea, just so you guys can see or get an idea what I'm going to talk about here. As I mentioned before, and as we all know, we might have, or we might know someone who has a lot of needs, or someone who also has, different abilities, a disability, but that person might not have a lot of needs as of now. So the first picture you can see is just an empty circle. It says no defined needs or supports. The one in the middle needs a little or a lot of help to understand and to make choices. Or the last one, the full circle, we can see that that person cannot understand and make choices. So, their capacity might be limited, and that person might need full guardianship in that case. So those are the three options, just to make it very in general. Okay. Now, I know that this slide has a lot of information. I'm not gonna go through all of this, but these are just examples of ways to use the supportive decision making. The first one we can see in employment, the one in the middle talks about relationships, and the last one talks about housing. So when we talk about supportive decision making, we have some examples here. What does that mean in when our loved one is working or is, just starting a new career, starting to test the field of working, that person might need a power of attorney. So, to make some decisions, we might need some help with a counselor to discuss different services for that person. Or this supportive decision making refers to making a dream board to help someone visualize what means to be at work, what type of people we're going to be meeting at work. We're going to have a manager, there's going to be co-workers, all these things. It can also mean ask for accommodations at work so our loved one can succeed at their job, or use an app. In the at the Arc of Northern Virginia, we have this very, very nice department that specializes in technology, and they create programs with basic basic things, like for someone who doesn't have disabilities. I don't like saying that word, for someone with different abilities, that might be something really hard. Let's say make mac and cheese or how to cross the street. We have this app that guides every person step by step in how to make the right choice. And this is what the supportive decision making is referring to in the employment area, that, there might be technology out there. There might be an app that can help our loved one understand what's going to happen at work. So that's an example, some examples in the employment area. How about in a relationship? We can find helpful YouTube videos. We can take social skill classes with them or bring them so they can build some interpersonal skills. Work with a counselor, with a therapist to process and express the feelings, which that's something very, very hard for someone to do. But there are groups, there are resources that we can use to help our loved one navigate that area as well. How about housing? We might need a power of attorney so someone can help you sign the lease and we can be notified of that. Or we need to tell the landlord about the best way to communicate with our loved one. So, that might be something very, very simple for some, but for some other people, that might be something really, really hard to do. And we're here to help and we're here to provide the resources. And so our loved ones don't have to feel alone. Okay, so here's just some legal authority options that I'm gonna be speaking about today. They're divided in two parts. One is just decision making, and the other one refers more to money management. So where you see here decisions, we're gonna be talking about power of attorney, guardianship, which can be limited or can be full guardianship, and the differences between those two. And regarding to money, we can see that the authority options that we might have could be power of attorney as well, conservatorship, representative, payee. This is related to Social Security benefits, or special needs trust or ABLE account that will also provide those services with the Arc of Northern Virginia. That's a separate department, but we also provide those services here. So those are like the different legal authority options that I'm going to be explaining today. So how can we begin? How can we begin with all the planning to find the right people that will help us make good decisions? or the people who are going to be helping our loved ones to make good decisions. We can divide it in three. This is very general. Finances, medical, education. Again, I'm also a mom, and that can be very overwhelming thinking about the future, thinking about finances or how our loved ones will be protected. My 4-year-old daughter, she goes to special program. She was having some delays in development and finding the right place for her to go study has been a challenge because we need to find the right teacher. We need to find the right fit for her and all of that. So these things I have been through them, not the same as some of you, but just some similar things I've been dealing with in my personal life. So again, finances, special needs trust, representative in the medical field, power of attorney. That's something that we can connect. And also education, IEP. There are also other organizations like PT that specialize helping families with their IEP and review them and all of that. So these are just like three of general areas that we can think of when it comes to planning and when it comes to legal authority. Okay, so the first one is guardianship. I'm pretty sure that we all have heard a little bit about it and what that means. But just some general ideas that I have here. It's guardianship is a permanent removal process of all rights to give consent to decisions of an adult with a disability. These are very strong words, permanent removal of all the rights. But we will see that it doesn't refer to all rights. Every person is different. As I mentioned before, that slide where I show you the empty circle, the one just fill up half, and the other one, every person is different. So someone might be able to make decisions, like someone might be able to drive. I have a loved one who is in the autism spectrum, and he recently got a guardian for himself. And some rights he was able to keep, but other rights like driving are not. This doesn't mean that this is going to stay like this forever, because he even tells me, he's like, in a few years, I think I might be able to drive. So things might change in his life, and things might change in paper as well. So this is not something that is totally permanent. People change, people and decisions can be adapted to that and can be changed as well. Guardianship, we see it as the last resort because it's a long process. It's hard. It's very difficult to revoke, and can be limited for certain areas as well. Again, as the last part says, it is possible to request to retain some rights, like the right to vote, right to get married, right to drive, things like that. Everything can be changed or can be adapted according to the needs or abilities of our loved one. And now, who can be a legal guardian? Anyone can file a petition with the court. What I've seen, in most cases is usually the parents are the ones who request to be the legal guardian once the kid is turning 18 or becoming an adult. And then there's a process for that, which I'll be explaining in a little bit. There can be two guardians, and either of them can have sole decision-making authority, both parents, but each of them get to make decisions. Also, during this process, a successor can be appointed as well. So we have the parents, and then what about when the parents are not here? Then maybe an uncle, maybe an aunt, or maybe a sibling. Someone can be named, so we have that area covered in case we're not around. But there is also a process about this, and they must return to court as soon as the guardian dies or becomes incapacitated to become permanent. Everything has a little process. When a guardian is proposed, the court sends notifications to other potentially interested parties. That's happened sometimes, but usually if it's the parents, the ones who are trying to, who are filing actually a petition with the court, then that should be a very easy process. Here's also an idea of how the process of guardianship looks like. Again, this is the last resort that we think of because we as parents have to evaluate all the options and also the different alternatives that we have. When we think about this process, we usually wait, or we tell people to wait until the person is about 17 years old. That's getting them closer to their adult age. So 17 and a half, older, and that's the right time to look for an attorney for them. That in that moment, when the person makes that decision, the family makes that decision, they meet with the attorney and they discuss why guardianship is needed. Usually the cost that we have seen with the attorneys, or fees for the attorneys, is $3,000, $4,000 for the whole process. Again, this can be a little bit tricky because you will see in the next slide, we have some attorneys that they don't work, for us or anything. We just know them, and we know that they have done a very good job being, through the helping everyone with the guardianship process. And they are very kind, and they are not gonna be taking your money and all of that, because we also have to be very, very careful with this. Other attorneys might charge $8,000 or $7,000, but the ones that you will be seeing in the next slide, they are some people that are very, honest, and they're good with the guardianship process and all of that. Then we're gonna be sharing the evaluations with the attorney that demonstrated disability. I know that keeping all the paperwork that we receive, or that we have medical in the school field, and all of those things can be very tricky, but it's really, really important to keep all the documents in order, because those are things that are going to help us once we start this process going. When this is all done, then the attorney starts filing the guardianship application, and the court appoints the guardian or guardian ad litem. And an independent attorney is appointed by the court. This guardian or guardian ad litem meets with the person and the proposed guardian to determine if the petition is appropriate. This is also something personal, but as I mentioned that someone that I know actually went through this process of guardianship, and I was actually named as not a guardian, but a successor in case the guardian is not around. And that's exactly what happens. The guardian ad litem, which was an attorney, told me, asked a lot of questions about how I knew that person, what does that person like, what triggers that person, and all these very personal questions, just to make sure that I know the person, and that person with a disability will be safe if I end up being the guardian. So they go through a lot of questions, and kind of like a little not investigation, but like they go through a lot of information that they ask for you, just to make sure that you are the right fit for them. Then the attorney submits the petition to appoint the guardian. The guardian ad litem submits the report to the court saying, okay, yes, this person, I checked, they should be all good. This can be a good guardian for this other person. And then the judge sets a hearing date, quickly reviews all the documents that were submitted, asks questions, and orders the guardianship. These guardians must then qualify as guardian and obtain letters from the court. And then here's the fee that the guardians need to submit. It's annual. It is only $5, just to make sure that they are in contact with the loved one. And that making sure, so the court knows that they are still, checking on them, making sure that they are okay, and they submit this report, which is a very, very easy report as well. You will find that one on our website as guardianship annual report. It's just an example or a template. So this is what I was talking about, the attorney options that we have of people who have attorneys who have helped other clients with this process. Some of them speak Spanish. Two of them, Julia Obando and Hannah Malone, they speak Spanish, but they are very nice people, and we know that they're not going to be overcharging for this whole process as other attorneys that we have heard that can sometimes charge $10,000, $7,000. So, that will give you an idea of how much you should be spending in this process. Okay, so that was the first part, and that's the first legal authority that I had, the guardianship. Now I have conservatorship. This is something that can be very connected to the guardianship, as well that this can be together on, this can be also separate, because conservatorship, I'm pretty sure that some of you have heard that word as well. And this is related mostly to money matters. It's all about the money and how to keep someone's finances safe. So a conservatorship is the process of removing all the rights to control one's state. This requires a very detailed accounting and reporting. So this is, I was speaking with one of my coworkers, and again, we don't suggest what you have to do. We just provide the information, right? But the conservatorship has to be something that, unless there's like a big amount of money or a lot of properties or, state and all of that for the people, they should go this route, because this is something, it can be a little bit of a pain because of all the details that are required for this. It's a last resort. Alternative is if a special needs trust, able account, or Social Security are not available, or if the representative fee is not adequate for this. So, because as you remember, or as you saw in other slides where we have the money or finances topic, we have the special needs trust related to that, or an able account, which that's another topic, and that's a lot of information about it. But just in general, that's the special needs trust account. Again, we have the department in our office that handles this, and that type of account also protects money for individuals who have different abilities, and just so they are protected, and all the other benefits that they receive, like Medicaid, Social Security, they don't get affected by the amount of money that they have. So that's what it is. Okay, and this is the third legal authority option that we have, and it's a power of attorney. I'm pretty sure that we have done a power of attorney before. That's a very, very simple document. It's a legal document signed by a person with a disability, and the person they're appointing as power of attorney. That can be something very general, like financial, medical, school, all those areas, or it can be something very specific, just medical, or just educational, or only financial. It can be general or just very, very specific. And the power of attorney can sign instead of or with the person with a disability. When it comes to these areas, the person with disability does not lose the right to sign, but it can be accompanied by the person who has the power of attorney. That power of attorney can be customized to show how decisions should be made together. And this is something that can be free or low cost, depending on, where you have that done. It can be done with an attorney, or you can use a template if you find something online, it's signed, but this is not a document that needs to be filed with the court. And this is also something that can be changed at any time. So that is the power of it. So here's, let's see, some information of, how we make this, again, supportive decision-making. We need to meet with someone that we trust. We need to take notes. These are just like, things that we already know, but just little reminders that sometimes we need, or writing our questions, or making sure that we talk to someone who has done this before, or all of that. So these are just tools that we're providing for it. And this is what I was mentioning, that to learn more about the supported decision-making and the specific legal authority options, we have a library that has all the information that you can think of. We receive a lot of calls, and a lot of calls are, related to very specific topics. So we know which questions usually people have, and all the documents that provide with the answer to all those questions are on the resource library. You can see the little information here, or some documents that have been posted as well. But if you go to our resource library, you put legal authority, guardianship, or power of attorney, you will find a lot of information that can help you make the decision for what you need. Okay, and yeah, this is what I have so far. This is all I have for you guys today. I'm pretty sure that you guys are gonna have some questions about this, and I'm here to answer whatever you need. But this is, in general, when it comes to supportive decision making, what we've seen, or the type of authorities that have helped our loved ones in the past, have helped clients in the past. And yeah, so let me know what questions you have.
Thank you, Majo. Please feel free to write your questions in the chat. Or in the Q&A feature. And I guess I'll start with one question. What would you say to parents that have been pressured or felt uncomfortable about making the decision of guardianship, and now are, feeling uncomfortable and would like to make several changes because their child, wants a different outcome in their life?
Well, I will say that they are not alone. Again, we have all these resources, we have all these tools, and we know that this is a very a hard journey for some, for us. And just being a parent can be hard, and if our son or daughter has additional needs that need to be met, that's something that we can only help them as much as we can. It's an act of love, but things can be changed. I know that sometimes money, can be tied, and finding someone, or finding an attorney, or getting someone who can help us can cost money. But at the end of the day, this is we can just do what's best with the information that we have, with our abilities. And it's an act of love that we have for our loved ones. And that's something that in the long run can protect our loved ones from losing something that they have. But again, we can change things. If we made a mistake in the past, or if we went a route that we didn't like, we can also just try and find more information, or try a different attorney, or just like keep on going. But just to remind them that they are not alone when it comes to this. A lot of people are going through that. A lot of people have loved ones with different abilities who might need a lot of support. Others might not need so much support, but still need a lot of, our love and support. So just encouraging them and empower them. This is just something so we can feel empowered at the end. And I can share with you the presentation. So, in case you want to forward them, in case they needed to take additional notes or something, I can send that to you as well.
This presentation will also be located on our landing page, and I also put the link in for the Arc of Northern Virginia's resources page, which gives you a variety of topics. They've done an excellent job at trying to hit all the topics that are really, really important, but also popular. And we have another few questions in the chat. What will happen to the person with disability who were forced by a family member to give up their rights? What steps can the person take to get their rights back?
That's a very important question. Let me think how to answer this. I think that as I mentioned, like we are trying to surround our loved ones with people that they can trust, people who love them. But if this is something that has been done already and has been filed, or this can be challenged legally. If a person, if the person who has this different abilities can show that they didn't understand, that they were agreeing to, or that they were pressured or being manipulated or someone on their behalf, they can go to court and they try to modify or reverse that decision. This might involve showing that their rights were taken without the due process or, informed consent, but that's something that can definitely be challenged. Again, that's something that can be changed. In many states, I know that there are different processes to restore rights if a person can demonstrate that they are able to make decisions independently or with less restrictive support. So I know that that's a process for that, but I think like going to court will be the right way of start making a change, and to let the authority know that they were not agreeing to this.
I have another question. I'm also encouraging everyone to ask questions. If you feel that you have made the choice prior to the an age that maybe the person just was having challenges in school, or parents that are experiencing, maybe at a younger age in life with their child, a moment where they're transitioning and things are changing and the person is not comfortable with themselves making decisions. Is there, a document to like a format or something that is in Spanish and in English to hand to a parent and say, this is how you can write just a basic plan for where you're at right now. And this is something that can help you clearly write out maybe what is going on right now and how I can make the best decisions to support my individual for the future without restricting them to be their own individual advocate.
Yes, I think in our yeah, that's very, very important too, because as I mentioned before, it's just that step of sitting down, writing down the different areas that we need to cover, like financially or school, or medical and all of that. But we have some tools, and I could send you something I find it on a resource library that can just guide or provide basic support plan or decision making, guide before or outside the processes like guardianship. I think that's what you're saying, right? Like before we get to that, because that's what we said, we get to the guardianship, that's our last resource. But yes, I can find something online and send it to you just so it can make it easier for everyone just to sit down, have that conversation and start planning or what are we going to do, medical, financially, school or education and all of that. That way you guys can have it. I know that we have something in English, in Spanish. It's just, it's a guide that we have. That way all the families have access to this and we don't have to be overwhelmed with like, oh, I have to start the guardianship and all of that. But this is something that can help us plan for the future and help us be prepared when the time comes and we have an adult. Let me see if I can find it right now and I can maybe post it on the chat. Yeah, that way you guys can have it available. Yeah.
I also wanted to ask about, in terms of the limited guardianship, when the person is, creating their plan or trying to make sure that they're supporting their individual, to give them as much individual advocacy, is it helpful to write down, pros and cons or anything relating to what their abilities are currently, and then if that person is at that age, maybe they're pre-transitioning of high school and then they're at a later age in adult life, but they have made big strides. Is there
Okay.
something that you would, a list of, strengths or phases in life that could be helpful?
Yes, of course. Absolutely. Writing things down, including like pros and cons or current abilities or goals that we have or that they have, challenges can be very, very helpful. That can help guiding better decisions or to ensure that the person's needs are at the center of the whole plan. Especially because, as I said before, stages can be shifting all the time, transitioning out of high school, to college or moving into adulthood. That can be something very, very hard for someone who doesn't have any type of disability, to say it that way. And, for someone who has more needs than others, this can be something very, very challenging. That's what we encourage, this preparing for changes, supporting advocacy, to ask them for appropriate services for the right organization. That's what I was saying, something like PTSD, they do IEPs or the art. We can help with all these other topics like special needs trust or guardianship, all of this. But this, as you were saying, Lorena, like writing things down can give so much clarity to everyone who is involved. That can help a lot. And for example, just like, a simple plan, like my strengths or what do I need help with, for our loved one. They can say that, who can help me now? What do I want for the future? What am I gonna do later? The pros and cons of the situation right now, and who can be involved in my decisions? Who do I let in that, special bubble so they can help me later on so I can make the right decisions. That's something that will be very, very helpful for someone who has different abilities. So I think that's really something important, and doesn't have to be legal, as you mentioned before. It doesn't have to be just, a guide or a document that we write down with them, with schools, with supportive teams and all of that. It doesn't have to be always guardianship. It doesn't have to be power of attorney. It can be something just, that can be done with someone in the right field, the doctor, the teachers and all of that. So yeah, that's really, really nice. That's a really nice question. And something very important to remember too. I'm just trying to find here the link for the ARC so I can send it to you guys.
Also, do you recommend that, parents and loved ones have a plan in place for a person that would step in the plan at all times?
That will be
Always an individual, like an advocate individual and a family member, maybe potentially a professional, someone you trust to be always in the plan.
I think that would be something very, again, it's another act of love, right? That we can do for our loved ones. That would be really, really nice to have someone close, whether it's a professional, whether it's someone who's very close to the family. Again, as I mentioned before, I have this person that he's I loved one to me, right? And he has his guardian, and then I'll be around in case that guardian is not there. So just having that support can be taking the burden a little bit for us. Finding a teacher, that we love, who can help us create a plan if we don't know where to go or what to do. The ARC, reaching out to us, that can be something that can feel like a relief for some families, because then we know that there is people who can advocate for our rights, or advocates for the rights of our loved ones when we don't know where to go. So yeah, I think the right person can provide guidance and another perspective to whatever we're dealing with. And it's really, really important creating that type of transition plan for the stage of life that we're living in.
Well, if I have included the polls in our webinar, and if I wanted to thank you again, Majo, and the ARC of Northern Virginia for partnering with us and making this happen today, and this critical information to empower all our families and educators and organizations that are supporting families that need to make sure that they have awareness about this supported decision-making topic that's really critical, especially in terms of advocacy and making sure that they are prepared for the future and have the right resources in place. Again, thank you, and thank our ASL interpreters for making this possible. And
thank you guys, because you invited us, and we love to share information. We love that everyone can feel empowered and know their rights, know just little things sometimes, or big things, but all the information is power, and we love being with you guys here. I love being with you.
thank you. And we will see those families. Well, we'll see you, Majo, tonight for this webinar in Spanish. And please share the link for families in Spanish to register, as we would like as many families to take advantage of this webinar in Spanish. Majo will be joining us again tonight at 7 p.m. And we want to thank everyone who joined us this morning and sharing this information, or this afternoon. Thank you so much. And please follow us on Facebook, YouTube, as the this video was recorded there and live streamed, and our landing page for Bienvenidos Todos.